I don't care who was telling you to do it, you have got to stop using essential oils undiluted. I'm Kristen, this is Kristen Unpoisoned, and on this channel, we take the poison out of everyday living. And today, we're gonna do that by doing a deep dive into essential oil dilution so everybody can stop giving themselves chemical burns. Bring your friends, they need to hear this too. Dilution is the amount of an ingredient within a mixture. So if we're talking about essential oils at a 1% dilution within a mixture, that means within the whole mixture, 1% of it consists of essential oils, 99% of it consists of other substances like carrier oils. We dilute essential oils to make them less potent but more effective. When it comes to essential oils, less is more. I'm sure you've heard of Robert Tisserand. He's pretty much the king of essential oil safety. He has a website that includes an adverse effects database, which I encourage you to go look at. It has a bunch of adverse effects that people have reported from using essential oils, mostly from using essential oils undiluted. You'll get things like phototoxicity, contact dermatitis, lots of different chemical burns from various uses. So I encourage you to check that out just so that you can know all the different things that have happened to people from using essential oils incorrectly. You can also search on YouTube and find a lot of people talking about adverse reactions they've had to essential oils. So I saw one the other day of this poor MLM rep. She was with Young Living and she did not really know anything about the proper usage of essential oils, the poor thing. So she was going to a tanning bed. Right before she went, she took bergamot essential oil and rubbed it on her forearms. Like, okay, for one, why? What is the intention there? Why would you do that? For two, what a waste of oils. So you know what happens? She goes to the tanning bed, she gets out the tanning bed, and she develops terrible chemical burns on both of her forearms where she had put that oil. Like, why? If people really took a second to stop and think, I'm pretty sure everyone would realize that essential oils are extremely powerful and shouldn't be used without being diluted. It takes 30 to 50 roses to make 1 drop of rose essential oil. I mean, that is some concentration right there, which means you definitely have to dilute it. You can't just be putting that stuff straight on your skin. You can dilute essential oils with a wide variety of fatty butters and oils. This is just a sneak peek at some of the carriers that I have in stock right now. I shouldn't have to say this, but I'm going to. Oil and water do not mix. I'm going to say it again for those people in the back. Oil and water do not mix. Got it? Okay, so stop putting essential oils straight into your bath and think you're not going to burn the crap out of your bits. Your essential oils are also not going to dilute within milk or Epsom salts or things like that. Stick to your carrier oils and butters. Okay, now we're to the good stuff, the ratios. This was pretty hard for me to grasp at first because I'm not so great at math, so I hope the way I'm explaining it today is really simple and clear for everybody, but if not, leave me a comment and I'll try to help you out. You commonly see a few types of measurements online when it comes to aromatherapy and essential oil recipes. You'll often see things written down by the drop, by the milliliter, by the ounce, sometimes by the teaspoon or the tablespoon, and also in grams. Everything besides grams is measuring by volume, and that is not super accurate because no one drop of essential oil is the same as the next drop of essential oil. If you want to be accurate, you're going to measure in grams because you actually weigh those out on a scale. If you're making something for yourself, for your own personal use, that you're going to use up within a relatively short amount of time, it's generally thought of as okay to use volume as a measurement in those cases. But if you're making product for somebody else, you need to use grams. That way it's accurate. With that in mind, we'll first look at volume measurements, since volume measurements are really the ones that are most common in recipes and things that you'll see online. So remember, these are approximations because this is volume, okay? 1 milliliter is approximately 20 drops. 1 US teaspoon is approximately 5 milliliters, which is approximately 100 drops. 1 ounce is approximately 30 milliliters, which is approximately 600 drops. Right, so what do we do with that information? Well, say you're making yourself a 10 milliliter roll-on at 2% dilution. 10 milliliters is approximately 200 drops. And that's because if 1 milliliter is approximately 20 drops, then if you multiply that by 10, it's approximately 200 drops. So that's how we got there. Right, so now we know that our 10 milliliter roll-on bottle will hold 200 drops of liquid. Now we need to figure out what 2% of those 200 drops are, so we know how many drops of essential oil we can put in our 10 milliliter roll-on. To do that, we take 200 and we multiply it by 0.02, and that gives us 4. So we know that we can put 4 drops of essential oil into our 10 milliliter roll-on to have a 2% dilution. Got it? Let's try another one. Now let's say you're making yourself a 2-ounce product at 3% dilution. So first we need to figure out how many drops fit into 2 ounces. Since we know that 1 ounce is approximately 600 drops, and this is 2 ounces, we just multiply that by 2. So that means 2 ounces is about 1,200 drops. Since we want it to be at a 3% dilution, then we need to figure out what 3% of 1,200 drops equals. We'll figure that out by taking 1,200 and multiplying it by 0.03. And that gives us 36. So we know if we want a 3% dilution in 2 ounces, we can put 36 total drops of essential oil into this jar. Now let's take a look at accurate measurements in grams for when you're making product for other people and when you're making large amounts of product. If you're working with existing recipes, in milliliters, you want to go ahead and convert the milliliters over to ounces and then convert the ounces to grams. There are online Google calculators you can use to do this. And again, it's going to be an approximation because it's a Google calculator, So you're going to want to take the recipe that you write and you need to compare it with your jewelry scale to the actual recipe and then, look for any discrepancies there. Because whatever you weigh out is obviously going to be most accurate. It might seem like measuring in grams is more confusing, but really, once you know the percentage that you need to dilute at, it's pretty easy. We'll say you're making lotion bars to sell. The bars are 42 grams each, and you want them to be at a 2% essential oil dilution. How do you figure it out? So you want it to be at a 2% dilution, and it's 42 grams. So 2% of 42 is 0.84 grams. So you know to use 0.84 grams of essential oil per bar. Now say you're making body oil to sell in a 2-ounce bottle with a 1% essential oil dilution. How do you figure it out? Since the bottle is in ounces, you have to take the ounces and convert it to grams. So a 2-ounce bottle is 56.699 grams. We can round that up to 57 grams. Then, since we want it at a 1% dilution, we'll take the 57 grams, multiply it by 0.01, and we get 0.57 grams of essential oil. See, it's not too difficult. Once you know the dilution rate that you're going for, it's pretty simple. You and I, we respect the potency of essential oils, so we're going to use the least amount possible to make our blends the most effective. The dilution ratio that you choose is going to depend on who you're blending for and why you're blending. Because we don't do stuff for no reason. Babies probably just don't. You could get away with blending at a really small dilution with babies at 0.02% or something, but they're so new and so fragile. Things like hydrosols and a lot of different carrier oils and butters are actually going to be really, really good for them and super effective. So you don't really need to even use essential oils at all at any dilution with babies. It's generally considered safe to blend at a 0.5 to 1% dilution for kids that are 5 years old and older, for pregnant women, for people with a compromised immune system, for the elderly, as well as anything that's going to go on the face. A 1 to 2% dilution is generally considered safe for things like body oils, lotions, anything that's going to be on the body on a daily basis. 3 to 5% dilution is thought of as generally safe for acute issues. So if you're having, acute pain issues, if you have, bruising or tenderness or things like that, generally you want to stay at about a 3 to 5% dilution for those. If you're not an aromatherapist and you're not working with an aromatherapist, I would recommend not going any higher than a 5% dilution for anything, just to keep yourself and others safe. Because essential oils are so potent, it is really important to only use brands that have warnings on their website. If there are any safety precautions for certain oils, the website needs to list those. So if you're online and you find an essential oil company that has bergamot, but they don't say anything about the phototoxicity of bergamot, then you're gonna want to pass on that company. Speaking of phototoxicity, some essential oils are phototoxic, meaning if you put them on your skin at higher than their safe percent limits, and then you go out into the sun or into a tanning bed, you could get pretty severe burns. Those oils include bergamot at 0.4%, lemon at 2%, cold-pressed lime at 0.7%, grapefruit at 4%, bitter orange at 1.25%, mandarin leaf at 0.17%, and cumin at 0.4%. That is not by any means an exhaustive list of phototoxic essential oils, but those are some of the more common ones that you might come across. You should be cautious with essential oils containing the components 1,8-cineol and menthol for kids under 5 years of age, as it can cause them some respiratory issues. These are oils like eucalyptus and ravensara, and there are plenty of others, but again, your essential oil company should list that on their product page. Some components of essential oils can interact with drugs, so you want to be cautious about that, and you'll also want to be cautious with pregnant and lactating women. But again, these cautions should be listed on your product page of the essential oil that you're working with. If you want to use more than one oil in the item that you're making, a great way to do that is to go ahead and make a stock blend of your oils beforehand. So say you want to make a 10 milliliter roll-on at 2%, and you want to use frankincense and lavender. So before you go ahead and make the blend, you're going to take an empty bottle and you're going to fill it with your lavender and your frankincense essential oils. Then you're going to take that stock bottle that you just filled and your 10 milliliter roll-on bottle, and you're going to drop 4 drops of essential oil from the stock blend into your 10 milliliter bottle. And there you have 2%, and you didn't have to worry about anything. I'll just do a quick blending demonstration because I think that might help some of you. I'm looking to make a 10 milliliter roll-on with a 2% dilution just for myself, my own personal use, and I wanted it for kind of relaxing before bedtime to get me into a nice, peaceful, stressless state of mind. For my carrier oil, I'm going to use vanilla-infused jojoba because it smells so heavenly, it's wonderful. And the essential oils I'm going to use are frankincense sacra, fregonia, and vetiver. Okay, so I've got all my supplies here. I've got my plastic pipette, my 10 milliliter roll-on bottle, my carrier oil, which is vanilla-infused jojoba, and the 3 essential oils I'm going to use, vetiver, fregonia, and frankincense sacra. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my pipette and partially fill up my 10 milliliter bottle here. Alright, I've put 2 pipettes of the vanilla infused oil within. So now I'm going to put in my essential oils. Alright, so now I'm going to fill up the rest of my roller bottle with the vanilla infused jojoba. Alright, roller ball is filled, so now I just need to pop the top onto it. There we go. And shake it up, and it is ready to go. Easy peasy, huh? When you're inhaling essential oil, it's not getting on your skin, so there's no dilution recommendations for inhalation. There are some kind of rules or guidelines that you should go by, though. If you're using a diffuser, you don't want to use it all day. A good rule of thumb is to have it on for 30 to 60 minutes, and then have it off for 30 to 60 minutes before you turn it back on again, and it should be in a well-ventilated room. If you want to know a little more about personal inhalers, you can take a look at my video from last week. Thank you so much for making it this far in the video. If this helped you out, I would really appreciate you giving it a like. Also, if you have any questions or need some clarification, please leave me a comment below, and I will do my best to answer for you. Thank you so much, y'all. Keep living an unpoisoned life, and I'll see you next time.